بسم الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. My name is Abdurrahman Ashnoush. I am the Vice President and Head of National Sales for Guidance Residential, the leading Islamic home finance provider in the US. I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us here today in our careers webinar. This is the second webinar that we hold this month. Alhamdulillah, the returns from the first webinars were extremely encouraging. As we grow as a company, we are looking to hire quality people all around the 23 states that we are operational in. So for that, I would like to really thank everyone for taking the time to join us here today. And inshallah, I look forward to answering any questions that you may have towards the end of the webinar today. The short presentation, which should take us about 30 minutes or so to conduct, will be conducted by Brother Amjad Qadri. He is our Vice President and Director of Training and Customer Service Relations, who also helped us with our efforts towards recruiting good quality people for Guidance Residential. Just to give a little short background about Guidance, we were established in 2002. Started out with about 3 states in operations, closed our first Islamic home finance contract in May of 2002. Today, alhamdulillah, after about 12 or 15 years of operations, we are operational in over 23 states with approximately $3.4 billion worth of Islamic home financing, making us to be the leader in this industry. To put things in perspective, the entire Islamic home finance market is sized to be around $3.8, $3.9 billion, with a few companies, about 4 or 5 companies operating within this field. Obviously, Guidance Residential having $3.4 billion gives us about 79 to 80% of the total market space. We are very appreciative to be the leader. We are very proud and appreciative of the efforts of the founders of this company to have put us on the map with one of the most authentic Sharia products available to finance homes in the US today, achieving the dreams of our community members from youth, first generation, second generation, and perhaps even third generation. Without further ado, I would like to go ahead and introduce Brother Amjad Qadri to go through the presentations. And as I mentioned, I would really appreciate it if you can hold your questions until the ends, inshallah. You can email the questions, or I believe you can also post them on the screen. With that, Amjad Qadri, please, it's all yours. Thank you.
Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Thank you very much, Abdurrahman. Inshallah, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know I've already started getting a couple of calls for people wondering when we were starting, so I thank everyone for their patience. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. As you can see on the screen, it says, join the #1 Islamic home finance provider. Alhamdulillah, we are the largest home finance provider by quite a big margin from any of the other home finance providers. And we're glad you can join us. Because we are #1, we are also growing because we as a company is growing, as well as because Islamic finance as an industry is growing. With that, we'll get right into it, inshallah. Our agenda is who are we, what's in it for you, about our program, our clients are like our partners, and you'll see why, and how to apply. As Abdurrahman mentioned, please go ahead and email your questions in, and we'll take all of your questions at the end. So who are we? Guidance was founded in April 2002 with 3 states. And alhamdulillah, Abdurrahman mentioned a little bit of our starting. And now in 2015, we operate in 23 states. We've been able to help 8,000 Muslim households buy homes, refinance their homes. So alhamdulillah, we've been able to help that many Muslims get out of riba. Over $3.3 billion in home mortgages, about 80% of the market. So when I mention we're the largest by far, this gives you a good idea of what the largest looks like. And we were nominated as the best Islamic home finance provider by Islamic Business and Finance magazine. This is something that was a huge honor for us because, you know, along with all of the all of the industries that are out there in the Middle East, in the UK, that are leading in Islamic finance, we were still one of the nominees from America, even though we're probably one of the smallest institutions doing it compared to the volumes they do in the Middle East. As you can tell, we've also been recognized even during the peak of the financial collapse and also during the rise of home financing. We've been recognized by all of the institutions that you see: USA Today, the New York Times, CNN, PBS, Associated Press. And we were recognized at both times. We were recognized for how well we're doing during the slow turn, because we never did any financing that was with uncreditworthy institutions or uncreditworthy individuals. We made sure that the people we got home financing for could afford the home financing. And then we were also recognized during the peaks because we were recognized for doing something different, for being able to help Muslims buy homes without using riba during the heydays of home financing and when everyone was buying homes. What's in it for you? So what's in it for you? You'll notice increased visibility is the key to the game when it comes to marketing. And with Guidance Residential, you'll see that you will see us at every major Muslim organization, every major Muslim event, and you'll see that we are there. We make sure our representatives are there. We make sure that we're wearing our shirts, and it's very, very clear that there's a presence felt. Ever since we started, we were probably one of the largest vendors at majority of the Islamic Finance Conference, and we continue to do that. We have joint marketing opportunities with a lot of your local real estate agents, and we have programs that will help them get more clients. We get qualified leads for you from our online program that you'll hear more about, but we have a very sophisticated online program where someone can go on our website and within 15 minutes be pre-qualified for a home financing contract. They'll get a pre-qualification letter. This is something that many of you might have looked for when you were buying a house, or that many of you or your friends were looking for, and they're wondering how to do that. With us, it's simple to do online, and you can get a letter and you can go ahead and put in a bid for a home right away, and you'll increase your business throughout the year. We have a fabulous marketing department that continues to advertise your name, continues to get our name out there on the internet and make sure that we are in front of potential clients. And when they come on our website, when they go ahead and fill out the information form, or they fill out a pre-approval information or prerequisite letter, that information gets sent directly to you to go ahead and help them out. Guidance Advantage. As I mentioned earlier, we are the most widely recognized Sharia-compliant home financer in the U.S. Because of our success here, we're starting to be recognized other places as well, as you saw by that award that we got from the Middle East, or the nomination that we got from the Islamic Finance magazine that's based out of the Middle East. And we have unlimited territories and potential for growth. We're hiring in almost all of our 23 states. So wherever you are, don't feel shy to contact us afterwards. And as you can tell, because we're doing this career webinar, we've historically been growing ever since we started, and we continue to grow. We are looking for leaders to fill both the sales as well as the leadership roles in our company. As we continue to grow, we're looking for your leadership and your expertise to come on board and help guide us into the future. Now, many people think, oh, if I work for an Islamic finance company, you know, it's going to be like a mom and pop company. I'm not going to have any benefits. And that's absolutely incorrect. I want to let you know that we have a friends and family discount where you get a pretty significant amount of credit back when any of your friends or family are buying a home, as well as for the employees themselves. We have a very, very good 401k program, health insurance, vacation allowance, and training. We have the ability to work within your community. So many of you that are community leaders or you're very active in your MSA, this will give you a chance to go back, take advantage of all that work that you put in through volunteerism, and now be able to use it to your advantage to be able to work within the community and get a lot of the friends that you know and a lot of their friends to be able to have them refer directly to you. And more than that, you'll have the ability to help them buy homes, which they'll be very thankful for, and you'll be happy that you were able to be one of the key people that are able to get them in their new home. working for us is similar to owning your own business. So when you own your own business, the time that you put in is what you get back. And it's very similar to us. Everything, when you go out there, when you get leads, when they come back to you, every time you do that and you finish their financing, that's commission that's coming back directly to you. And you set your own hours. So, you know, if you have a store or if you have some kind of business, you know, you decide when you're going to go in, and it's the same thing here. You want to make sure you go in the ideal times when you know your customers are going to want you to be able to call them. A lot of them want you to be able to call them in the morning. And then on your other times, you might take a few hours off of the office, and your schedule will be flexible enough to do that. You might want to pick up your kids, drop them off at home, and then you go to a real estate agent's office, or you go to the mosque and you see if you can get some more clients or make some good relationship with real estate agents or insurance agents. You have a motivated and helpful colleagues that are experienced that you can learn from. So we have a pretty good 1 week long training program that you get as soon as you come on board. But after that, I can tell you we have people that have been working with the company now, some of them for as much as 10 plus years, actually a lot of them. And any time that I've called them for help, or I had a question that I wasn't sure about, or I had a file that was tricky, they've always been there to help me, and you'll find the same thing, that they'll always be there to help you. They'll guide you. They'll help you with your first few application. They'll help you with anything tricky that comes up as you go along. For the competitive compensation, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Abdurrahman. And before I do, I'm just going to say, you know, Abdurrahman has been with the company for quite a while, almost since the inception. And he was a little modest in his introduction, but I can tell you that he's taken the company to new heights and new growths. So he's been a very, very great sales leader for us, and inshallah he'll continue to be for all of you that decide to join us after this webinar. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Abdurrahman.
Okay. So basically, thank you very much. First of all, Amjad, you have given me too much credit. But I would like to go over the slide where the compensation is, because I think that's what matters the most for most people. I can tell you that much, that our employees here, for the most part, although compensation is extremely important to them, and it's one of the major pieces or deciding pieces why they would actually join Guidance. But beyond that, there is definitely passion for what we do, and that's really what motivates and moves people and actually keep people going. Because this industry is not an industry, it's not an easy industry to join, and it's not an easy industry to operate within and further actually succeed. In fact, if you look at this industry as a job, you perhaps would limit yourself to begin with. However, we look at our work as career. We look at building our work as if we are building our own business, and that is truly the essence of what makes someone, or differentiates between someone who may succeed in this industry and someone who may just get by. To get into the compensation, to start with, we have three different employment types. The first one is a full-time account executive with base salary and benefits package. Our benefits package is inclusive but not limited to, obviously, time off for vacation, and I believe they start out with about 2 weeks of vacation, 401k participation from the company, but I believe it's after 6 months of employment, insurance, health insurance, which health, dental, and vision, as a matter of fact, which they get kicked off right after you join the company. We have sick leave, floating holidays, and personal leave as well. In terms of the monetary compensation, for the full-time with base salary, they start out with a base salary of $2,000, which is really not enough to sustain somebody's living, but at least it keeps somebody afloat to maybe fulfill some basic needs. But then the commission tiers is a combination between the number of units closed every month as well as the volume that is brought in. So for example, you might make, X amount of basis points, and basis points is, a percentage of 1%. So let's say if you make 35 basis points, for example, or 45 basis points, that is $4,500 for every $1 million that is closed. Our average AEs, our account executives, they make somewhere in, between $70,000 a year to $100,000 a year their first year with guidance. And then obviously as they continue to build their business, their clientele keeps building, and therefore their income also keeps building. The second tier that we have, or the second type of employment that we have, is full-time without base salary. But actually, but it also, this position offers benefits package as well. So with this position, they say, you know what, I do not want the base salary. I see that as maybe a limitation than more than an advantage. And for those people, they get paid, higher commission tiers or higher commission returns on the tiers, so that they compensate for the base salary. Plus, they still receive the health insurance and the other benefits package. The third type is the commission only, and for the commission only, they start out with a nice, sizable commission structure. I believe it starts at 50 basis points, and then it goes up to 60 basis points, which basically means you close $1 million, you make $5,000, and as you increase your production, you can make up to $6,000 per $1 million closed. For the first 90 days of employment, we offer a compensation of 75 basis points, which is $7,500 for each $1 million closed. And then for the remaining, for the 90 days after that, it goes down to 65 basis points, which actually means $6,500 for each $1 million closed. And then after the first 180 days, you default back to the normal compensation schedule based on the employment type that we have. Of course, for the licensing, you get reimbursed for the licensing expense once you close your first deal with Guidance. So you are responsible for the licensing expense to begin with, which in most cases does not exceed perhaps $350 to $400 or so, and that's composed of paying for education, required education of 20 hours pre-taking the exam, and then you have to get yourself prepared for the exam with an additional class, and then once you take the national exam, that cost is about $60 and additional $60 for each state or for each exam that you take for the particular or the respective state. Of course, once you pass all of that, you pass the background check and the credit check, and you get sponsored by Guidance Residential. Once you close your first contract, you get reimbursed for all these expenses that you incurred to start this industry. So this is in a nutshell, what the compensation is composed of and how we handle the upfront cost for the licensing expenses. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Abdurrahman. Inshallah, we'll take it from there. And then we're going to continue on, and we're going to move on to technology. Alhamdulillah, we are a leader in technology, and anyone that comes on board will notice that we have a proprietary system where we've made it much easier for anyone that's new and even some of our experienced salespeople to take an application. And not just much easier, but also very convenient to do it anywhere. We have an app on our iPads that wherever you are, you can help a customer take an application and go ahead and get pre-qualified and also get a pre-qualification letter sent to their email right away. And you'll notice the huge advantage that this is for you as you continue to work for us and as you continue to be out there in front of your customers. Our advantage also comes in personalized marketing material. You'll get your name and your contact information, your own web page. You'll have customized print collateral, and I can tell you our marketing team does a great job of coming up with new print material for us every time. You'll have a custom slide deck for your presentations that will have, again, your name and your number on there. You'll notice that we have some custom video presentations. You're going to see one here in a few slides. And you'll see branded signage and trade show materials. So anytime we go to the big conventions, we have those huge convention 10 by 10 displays, and then we have the pop-up banners that are a good 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide. And all of this there is to just help get the name out that you are working for us, and to get our name out so that people know who to come to when they're ready to finance their house in your community. Here are some of our account executives from in the field as well as our corporate office. And alhamdulillah, most of these guys have been with us for a long time. I believe all of them make a salary of, not a salary, make income of well over 6 digits, which is fairly easy to do, and you can tell a lot from what Abdurrahman had mentioned. And everyone continues to stay with us because of the advantages that we have. You'll notice in the first one, Najat, one of our sisters from our corporate office, said she was able to help a client in 15 minutes get a pre-qualification letter out to them because they wanted to make an offer on a house that they had just seen right away. Then you'll notice Nabil, our next one, there was a client that called him and he was on his way and happened to be close to his house, and he said, listen, I'll just stop by for a little bit and help you with your pre-qualification. And the client was absolutely flattered because he was able to provide such customized personal customer service to him, and he was able to get his letter and again make an offer. And then you'll notice one of our most experienced salespeople, Salman, he said that the app that we have in iPad that's called Gaios, that it helps him pre-qualify customers and make sure that the numbers are accurate. So even though he's been with us for a long time and he's one of our top salespeople, he appreciates that the app helps him in things that he might even forget as he continues to go on. So with that, I'm going to go into our program, and the first thing you'll see is a short video, and the video will go ahead and explain how our program works, and then I'll come back and I'll give some details. With that, if you can go ahead and play the video.
You're a potential homeowner, and you need to understand how home financing works and what types of risks are involved in the process. For that, we need to take a closer look. The current financial system looks like a factory that sells money for more. When you go to purchase a home, a traditional bank will happily lend you the cash you need, add interest, and they'll even pass along all the inherent risks of home ownership to you as a bonus. So in the event you fall victim to a natural disaster, eminent domain, or foreclosure, the burden to repay the full loan amount falls directly on you, with no one to help shoulder the load. Beyond its obvious shortcomings, lending and borrowing at interest is also in direct opposition to what all monotheistic faiths preach. There is, however, an alternative. Guidance Residential's declining balance co-ownership program is rooted in the traditional Islamic belief that money has no intrinsic value and thus can't be sold at a profit. The program is a non-lending method to facilitating home ownership. Through Guidance's co-ownership agreement, you purchased a home of your choice by entering into a diminishing partnership where your obligation is simple. You agree to buy out Guidance's shares while also paying a fee for using a portion of the property you do not yet own. As your ownership increases over time, the portion of your monthly payment dedicated to this rental condition decreases. What makes this better? You can fully buy out Guidance's shares at any time without a prepayment penalty. If you're late making a payment, you don't need to worry about the typical 5% late fee that traditional banks charge and profit off of. Our reminder fee of $50 or less covers our administrative costs and never compounds. In the event of default, Guidance will only reclaim its share from the sale of the property, whereas other institutions typically pursue you for any proceeds not covered by the sale of the home. Should the property be lost due to a situation involving something outside the two parties, like eminent domain or a natural disaster, Guidance will share equity loss equal to the percentage of our ownership. With Guidance Residential, you don't have to worry about the worst-case scenario. We're here to share the risk and benefits of owning a home with you. It's something we like to call modern finance with timeless values. Visit GuidanceResidential.com to learn more about this consumer-friendly way to finance a home without compromising your identity.
We're going to go ahead and play that one more time because I know in the beginning the volume was low, so we're just going to go ahead and play from the beginning one more time, and then we'll continue the presentation.
You're a potential homeowner, and you need to understand how home financing works and what types of risks are involved in the process. For that, we need to take a closer look. The current financial system works like a factory that sells money for more money. When you go to purchase a home, a traditional bank will happily lend you the cash you need, add interest, and they'll even pass along all the inherent risks of home ownership to you as a bonus. So in the event you fall victim to a natural disaster, eminent domain, or a foreclosure, the burden to repay the full loan amount falls directly on you, with no one to help shoulder the load. Beyond its obvious shortcomings, lending and borrowing at interest is also in direct opposition to what all monotheistic faiths preach. There is, however, an alternative. Guidance Residential's declining balance co-ownership program is rooted in the traditional Islamic belief that money has no intrinsic value and thus can't be sold at a profit. The program is a non-lending method to facilitating home ownership. Through Guidance's co-ownership agreement, you purchased a home of your choice by entering into a diminishing partnership wherein your obligation is simple. You agree to buy out Guidance's shares while also paying a fee for using the portion of the property you do not yet own. As your ownership increases over time, the portion of your monthly payment dedicated to this rental condition decreases. What makes this better? You can fully buy out Guidance's shares at any time without a prepayment penalty. If you're late making a payment, you don't need to worry about the typical 5% late fee that traditional banks charge and profit off of. Our reminder fee of $50 or less covers our administrative costs and never compounds. In the event of default, Guidance will only reclaim its share from the sale of the property, whereas other institutions typically pursue you for any proceeds not covered by the sale of the home. Should the property be lost due to a situation involving something outside the two parties, like eminent domain or a natural disaster, Guidance will share equity loss equal to the percentage of our ownership. With Guidance Residential, you don't have to worry about the worst-case scenario. We're here to share the risk and benefits of owning a home with you. It's something we like to call modern finance with timeless values. Visit GuidanceResidential.com to learn more about this consumer-friendly way to finance a home without compromising your ideals.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll go ahead and continue. And as you heard from the video, there's a few advantages. Now, I know many of you have probably been in these discussions in circles at parties or any group gathering. You know, oh, what's the big deal? Islamic finance is really not different. And I want to let you know that when it comes to how they work, there's a lot of reasons why we are different. I'm going to highlight some of them, and this is something that you'll get extensive training on, so you'll feel like you're a full expert. And when you have these conversations or you have these elevator talks, you will know exactly what to say. Alhamdulillah. You'll know exactly what to say so that your customers and your friends will understand what you do and how it's different. The first one is our contracts are non-recourse. Over 40 states in the United States have recourse actions allowed by the mortgage companies for anyone that has a house. So what does this mean? This means that for many people, when they bought their homes in 2007 or even before that, their homes went down in value. They couldn't afford them anymore, and some people had to walk away from their homes. So if they had bought a $300,000 house and they walked away and they still owed the bank about $250,000 and the bank was only able to sell that house for $150,000, they still owe that bank $100,000. And they might not see that at first, but many of those clients, especially right now in Florida and Nevada, they're going to buy homes again because it's been about 5 to 7 years. They're back on their feet, they're ready to buy a house, and they notice they have a $100,000 debt that they owe a bank, and the bank is coming after them for this money. Whereas with Guidance and our Islamic finance contracts, we have a non-recourse contract. If you are in a hardship and something happens and we have to sell the home for less than it's worth, then we will not come after you for the loss that we incur. We have a capped late fee, as was explained in the video. Many of the banking institutions, they actually have a column in their profit and loss statements for late fees where they make money off of their customers. Sometimes it's a percentage, sometimes it's a fee. We have, sometimes it's just a one fixed price, but we have a fee of $50. And the way we came up with this is our Islamic finance scholars back in 2001, 2002 said, listen, get an outside third-party auditing company to come in and see how much does it cost in manual hours and in materials for mailing and phone calls and things like that for when someone is late with a payment. And so they figured out that that was $50. And as I mentioned, this was back in 2001 and 2002, so it might have easily doubled since then. But that $50 is what we charge one time if anyone is ever late, and we don't make it something that we profit out of, but something that just reimburses for the cost that we took. No prepayment penalties. That anytime that you want, you can buy out our partnership with you, and we have shared risk. So if there's a natural disaster or if there's a public service project and the government comes in for eminent domain and we had bought a house with you and they will not pay us the full value of the house, or they end up paying us less, we will take our loss as our percentage owned. And if anyone puts down 5% and they buy a home with us and we put down 95%, we will end up taking the greater percentage of the loss in that scenario. These are some of the issues that we found with conventional mortgage processes that we've been able to avoid. And what we found is a lot of the LOs, the mortgage originators, do not, or loan originators do not communicate well with real estate agents or their clients. They're uncaring. They're, this is just another customer to them. Many people feel like they can't trust their loan officers. They're hard to understand sometimes. A lot of people say it's a painful process and it's very confusing. And what we've done is we've simplified the process for our customers. A lot of it is through our app and our website. We have clear and constant communication with the real estate agent after getting our client's permission and the client. We have some of the best turnaround dates in the industry. Our account executives are always helpful, and they're more like a guide. You will know many of them. Many of them you'll see in community events, so they know it's not just another number, or it's not just another client to them. It is someone that they want to help, and we have become a trusted brand because of this. And anyone that joins us genuinely likes what we do. So how do I know that's true? Because before I joined Islamic Finance, I was part of the Y2K boom. I worked for IBM, McKinsey, some of the larger corporations, and I was the second Illinois customer for guidance. And my cousin beat me by a day, and for a long time I would be referring customers to them. And at some point, one of the managers just called and said, "Why don't you work for us? You clearly have a passion for this." And as they say, the rest was history. I've been doing this now for 10 years. Here's again a summary of our benefits. We're very, very competitive. Many people like to think that Islamic finance is more expensive than conventional financing, and I'm here to let you know that that is completely untrue. Every week on our website we have a place where we compare our rates, our going rates, with Bank of America, some of the larger institutions, as well as with some small community organizations, to make sure that we are competitive and we stay competitive. So if anyone still has that in their mind, because there's many people in the community that like to say, "Hey, you know what, we're not competitive," or "When I did Islamic finance, it was so much more expensive." That's just not true. I can tell you in the beginning, when we first started, because of all of the capital that we had to do, we were a little bit more expensive at that time. Being one of the first customers in Illinois, I can tell you I saved money when I refinanced with guidance, a good amount of money. So I was very, very happy when they came. As mentioned, we're consumer friendly. You'll notice a huge online presence, and you can get online in 15 minutes a pre-approval letter. Very, very reliable, and we could not be the biggest and the largest, as you saw, 80% of the market by being untrustworthy or being unreliable. And we are growing, which is why we're doing this today. We want to make sure that anyone that's out there that's interested can come join our team and grow with us. In summary, we're in 23 states, and we're hiring in all of them. We have personalized marketing material, so you will always feel that what you're getting is for you. We get leads sent directly to you, to your mobile phones, whether someone calls in, or through an email to your mobile phone and to your iPad when someone signs up online. Our iPad is integrated with our customer management system. We have very competitive compensation programs. As I mentioned, it's very, very easy to be making over 6 digits. A complete benefits package. extensive training and coaching. We are always here to help you. If you feel like you have a client on the fence and they're not sure if they want to go Islamic finance, give any of us a call and we'll be happy to try to talk to them and let them know the benefits of going through us, and lots of opportunities for growth, as I've mentioned before. With that, if there's any questions, please send them into my email address that you see there on the side of your computer. It's amjad.khadri@guidanceresidential.com, and myself and Abdurrahman will go ahead and answer those questions for you. I see a couple of questions that have already come in. Does your company operate in Connecticut? And if we do, how do you start the certification process? So I can tell you we do operate in Connecticut, and I'm going to turn it over to Abdurrahman to answer the second part of the question, which is the certification process. And inshallah, Abdurrahman will go through and explain a little bit of the certification process, the class that you need to take, and we'll continue to answer questions from there.
Okay, so I think I'm being unmuted now. I'm sorry. So to answer the question about the actual steps to get licensed or the certification, basically there are 2 or 3 different requirements or main requirements or main steps for the applicant to take in order for them to become licensed as loan officers in their respective state where they are planning to work. The first step is basically to complete a 20-hour or 20 hours of education, which talks about different guidelines by the investors. It talks about ethics in the business, as well as certain law regulations and requirements. The second step is to take a national exam, which you have to have 75% passing grade or better, and you are allowed 4 opportunities to pass the exam with 1 month space between each one of these opportunities. In other words, if you take the exam and you fail, then you have to wait for 30 days before you can retake it again, and you can repeat that for 4 times, and then after that you have to wait for 6 months before you can retake the exam. Once you pass the exam with 75 points or better, you can actually take the state exam, which basically is required for almost half the states in the US, because some other states, they have a uniform exam. Now, you also have to have 75% grade or better to pass the exam, and after you complete these 3 major steps successfully, then you'd have to go and register your name on the NMLS, which is the national system for originators, where they will ask you about your personal information and a 10-year history, employment history, that is. Once that is done, then Guidance Residential will sponsor you as the lender or as the broker, and we will have a extensive background check done, as well as a credit check. Once all these steps are completed, then your entire folder is submitted to the respective state for approval, and once you are approved by the state, then you become licensed in the state and you can actually start working.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. With that, we have a few more questions here. Someone said there are economics and finance major at Northeastern University in Boston, and they're wondering what type of programs what are we hiring for? We are hiring for mortgage originators all around the country, and that's the first step into getting into Islamic finance right now. And if you're interested, we're definitely happy to help you. The gentleman that asked the question mentioned that he's about to take his real estate exam. That will definitely help you in understanding your customers better and being able to advise them better. And they also mentioned when are the jobs available. And I can tell you that we're looking to hire in most of these states immediately. We have another person here from Kansas wondering if we operate in Kansas and if we're hiring. And Sherry, I'm happy to tell you that we are operating in Kansas and we are looking to hire someone actually immediately in Kansas. So if you are interested, please go ahead and send your resume to the emails on the side. With that, I have another question here. Abdurrahman, someone was wondering if there's an opportunity for any internships. I don't think we have any at the moment, but I'll let you go ahead and take that question.
Sure, thank you, Amjad. For internships, it's actually not so simple. It's a little bit more complicated. We used to have internships in the past, but I think because of certain compliance and regulations, we have to move towards a paid internships, which we don't have a problem with that. However, there are also some laws that dictate how you can hire people for internships, paid internships that is, within our industry. So we have to work with certain universities, we have to have certain approvals, so it's a little bit more complicated, which we decided, at least for this year, not to engage in such program until we have our hands around the whole thing, and then perhaps next year, inshallah, we might be able to participate. In fact, we were asked by a couple of universities, one of which is an Islamic university that will be the first university to be offering a complete Islamic finance curriculum in the US. It's called Al Huda University, to work directly with them for an internship program for their students. So it is something that's in our horizon to entertain and to bring back to the table, but unfortunately not at this point, because the priority really is to cater to our growth requirements by hiring employees or sales or originators in the pockets where we need to add more people, basically.
Abdurrahman, we have another question here about NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, and the gentleman would like to know if our job description falls under NAFTA. He's currently in San Jose, California, and he's dependent on the H-4 visa. And I'm not sure how that works. I'm not sure if this is something that's for HR, but if you do know anything more about this, if you can shed some light, we'd appreciate it.
As you mentioned, Amjad, this is purely a technical HR question, which I do not have the knowledge to answer. My understanding is that if someone is authorized to work in the US, which I think most Canadian citizens are, then you can be employed by Guidance as well. In fact, we do have a gentleman that comes to mind who is an American citizen, works here for us in the Seattle area, but he actually has a full-time job in Canada. I'm not sure how that relates to NAFTA specifically, and I cannot really answer that question. But my knowledge is, as long as you are authorized to work in the US, you can become an originator, and you can actually get the license and join Guidance.
Okay, thank you.
If there are more specific questions about that particularly, we'll be more than happy to get an email, perhaps from the person who asked the question, and definitely we can clarify the answer for them.
We'll definitely get it right over to our HR department, and they'll reply back with the appropriate email. There's another question here, Abdurrahman. Which states are we looking to hire at immediately? The person's from the West Coast.
From the West Coast, we definitely need immediate hire in the Washington, Seattle, Washington area. There is one particular cluster, what we call cluster or zone, where there is a large concentration of from the Muslim community, professional Muslim community. We do not have somebody who is actually dedicated to that particular area. We are looking to hire in the LA, in different counties in LA. At least we need 1 to 2 more people. San Diego definitely is a very hot market for us, where we do not have any coverage. We have Guidance Realty, which covers the real estate side of the business, but not the financing side of the business. So having someone to work San Diego will be extremely hot for us. And also Arizona, where we opened the state last year, yet we still have not succeeded to find the right candidate on the ground to cover the market for us there. So the person who's asking the question, if you are in one of these areas, please submit your resume. We'll be more than happy to look at it and help you through the steps, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Abdurrahman. Someone also wanted to know why we're only in 23 states.
Well, the reason for that is it is simple to go out and claim to become or claim to have an Islamic finance product. And there are other companies who are actually doing that, who has done that in the past, and they are doing that in the present as well. Meaning, they will take the transaction, the normal conventional transaction, perhaps add a document or two to it that they create internally without necessarily, rooted Sharia compliancy or without rooted legal process, and claim to be providing Islamic finance. Guidance Residential, however, is so far from that. Meaning, okay, we have had a motto to start with that when it comes to Sharia compliancy, we do not compromise. There's no compromise between having Sharia product and not having Sharia product. In other words, we do things the right way. So we go in depth. And when I say we go in depth, that means we look at the product for each respective state that we want to function within, and we make sure that the structure of the contract, which was approved by an independent Sharia board, is actually also legally recognized from that particular state. And that can become a very lengthy and hectic process. In fact, in most states, it becomes a very, very expensive proposition. I can give a live example for that in particular, the state of Texas. The state of Texas is one of our, or actually really in general, it's a very good market for any Islamic home finance provider, especially for Guidance Residential, where we enter markets that we understand, we study, we understand, we do our research, R&D work very much, and then we operate after that. For the state of Texas, we had to wait for about 3 or 4 years, if not longer, of working with the regulators from the state and working with our independent Sharia body, as well as working with top law firms operating in the state of Texas. And the reason for that is because Texas is one of a few states who require that if you will be dealing with home financing in particular, dealing with the secondary market, that you have to offer a loan. So you have to lend money. Okay, that was at the time where other companies claimed to also offer Islamic home financing products, yet in reality they were actually loans. So it took Guidance Residential hundreds of thousands of dollars and several years of efforts going back and forth between the legal system, the Sharia board, and experts in the field, so that we can come up with a structure which satisfies all three requirements: Sharia, legal, as well as within the investors of the secondary market who dictate the home financing in particular. So because of that lengthy process, because of that costly process, Guidance Residential would have to take the states one state at a time to make sure that we are compliant with the three, and compliant from a federal perspective as well as state perspective. So to answer the question in brief, it takes us time, it takes us effort, it takes us money, it takes us a lot of work to make sure that we comply with the Sharia aspect with no compromise from a Sharia perspective, so that we can meet all the requirements for the Sharia perspective of the program. We have to comply with the legal aspect of the program as well as experts, so that we can still function within the secondary market, which is the market that specializes in promoting home ownership in the U.S., i.e. Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and Ginnie Mae.
With that, we're down to the last couple of questions because we will be ending here shortly. I do want to add to that and say that, when I do my presentations around the country talking about Islamic finance, and one of the things I like to educate the Muslims on is, how do you know if the institution you're dealing with is Sharia compliant when it comes to home financing? And I have two very simple criteria. The first one is a qualified independent Sharia board. So what does this mean? This means that the Islamic scholars are qualified in Islamic finance, that they happen to be on IOFI, which is an international organization of Islamic finance scholars. And you'll be happy to know that all 7 of our scholars are either on IOFI currently or have been on IOFI in the past. IOFI is the accounting and auditing organization of Islamic finance institutions. So they set the standard for Islamic finance institutions. And the second criteria is a very simple one. It kind of helps answer this question about why we're only in 23 states. To do Islamic finance right, you have to do a mortgage contract that is different from a conventional mortgage note. And when you do that, because in America, the homes are the biggest assets that most Americans, that most of us will buy in our lifetime, and the most expensive thing that we'll buy, they're very protected by home protection laws. So if I'm going to go and do Islamic finance, let's say in Illinois, where I live, then the state of Illinois wants to know that this contract that we have, this co-ownership contract that we have, does not violate any laws, and that we won't be able to just take the home away from a homeowner or a Muslim homeowner, and we're going to be gone tomorrow and end up costing the Muslim community a lot of money. To do that, it costs us anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000, depending on how complicated the law is. As Abdurrahman mentioned, Texas was one of the most complicated states. So I think we can all agree that it does not make sense for us to go to North Dakota and say we're going to spend all this money to do Islamic finance there, when we might not necessarily get all of the clients back or be able to make our capital back. With that, we have a couple more questions here. One is if we're hiring in New York, New Jersey, and I can tell you, yes, we are hiring there. And the other one is if we're hiring in the Florida area, and I can tell you we are hiring there as well. With that, I know we're almost close to the hour mark, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you have any more questions, feel free to continue to email me on the email address you see there on the side, amjad.khadri@guidanceresidential.com. I will continue to answer your questions and get the questions to the appropriate people. If they're visa related, I'll get them to our HR representatives. And I want to encourage everyone, if you want to come to an exciting place to work where you'll be able to set your own schedule, have your own business, and continue to be part of an industry that's growing, not just in the United States, but internationally, we would love to have you as part of our team. With that, I'll turn it over to Abdurrahman for some closing remarks.
Well, thank you very much, Amjad, once again, for a wonderful presentation. And just to recap on the person who was asking about the Florida and New York or New Jersey area, in fact, we are looking for active people in southern New Jersey in particular. And for New York, I wanted to deliver the news that we have had a very successful grand opening for our office in New York last month, with an area manager managing that office, as well as about 4 employees or 4 account executives. In fact, that office serves 2 purposes for us: Guidance Residential, which is the financing arm, as well as Guidance Realty, which is the realty brokerage for New York. So we're very, very excited about the team there. We are looking to add to the team, inshallah. That's also not to mention that we also relocated our office in New Jersey to a bigger office, and an office that's more strategically located. And we are looking to hire a couple of people in New Jersey. In fact, this coming weekend, inshallah, we're having our grand opening for another office in Orlando, Florida, which will also serve both the Guidance Realty arm as well as Guidance Residential arm. My point here is that we are growing, alhamdulillah, as a company. If you are interested in Islamic finance, this is the right timing to join an industry that keeps growing year after year, to join the leading provider of Islamic home financing, the true leading provider of Islamic home financing in the US today, Guidance Residential, with the most authentic product that's available in the US today, and the truly fastest growing Islamic finance provider in the US today, having grown from about 30 account executives last year to almost 50 account executives this year, and we just hired 5 more, where we will, inshallah, continue to grow on the same growth path going forward, inshallah ta'ala. Now, I do not know of many jobs or many careers, because I hate to call this a job, out there that can give you satisfaction of giving back to your own community. So you're basically writing history and going down with people who helped establish a stronger Muslim community in North America, a career that can be financially extremely satisfactory if you're not a doctor or a lawyer or one of those traditional jobs known to be financially rewarding. And at the same time, it's spiritually rewarding because you are truly serving your faith with a different angle that's very, very unique that I do not know of many people who are able actually to do that. I cannot really conclude my our presentation today with any better remarks than reminding everyone of these 3 satisfactions that you can get as you build your own business at somebody else's book as well, financial book that is. So with that, I really do appreciate everybody's time and effort to have joined us here this evening. We are available, inshallah, to answer your questions. Send us your resumes, send us your questions through emails, give us a call, or even visit our careers at Guidance Residential website, and we'll be more than happy to provide more detailed information. We are excited to have quality people join us, and we are excited to grow this company and take it to the next level with people from our community, by the community, for the community. With that, thank you all very much. Once again, appreciate your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.